Welcome everyone to Big News Wednesday. Little tech troubles here in the studio, but I am here now, John Iadarola. It's Big News Wednesday, and that means Jayar Jackson. Jayar, how's it going?
Biggest news of the day, the damage report starts late. Is this the watch list or is this the damage report? Because that's my MO for everything to screw up on my show before it starts. Just saying.
That's true. This was just, we have this little background monitor. It messed up. I don't know. Computers are complicated stuff. But anyway, we are here. And it is important that we're here because I don't want to oversell things, but is today maybe the best day of news all year? It might be. No.
We're getting there. We're getting there. I'm expecting better.
Okay. Well, look, I'm not saying that there aren't individual stories that are better, but the average story, interesting. It's like, you may have a standout main event at a pay-per-view, but like just a solid every match is good,
That's true. Yeah.
True. Anyway, we're gonna keep our WWE talk to the breaks, I guess. Maybe we'll be able to talk about Backlash. Anyway, thank you everyone for being here because we do have a lot to talk about. We're gonna be talking about Donald Trump. Did you know he's a sexual predator? That's not me saying that. That's a court of law saying that. George Santos has now turned himself into the authorities, which is a sentence I've been waiting months and months to say. Tucker Carlson has made clear his next moves. And then there's just a lot more interesting news besides. We've got some AI news that is fascinating. DeSantis is like, it's the pettiest union busting I think I've seen in my life. And Matt Gaetz defends AOC from Fox News. There's some interesting stuff coming up. So what you're gonna wanna do is hit the like button and share the stream, not only so that people know we're around, but then you can send us a message and maybe get a Blueprint gift card. I'm just saying there are opportunities aplenty. So with all that said, JR, are you ready to do this thing?
I'm ready. I mean, I've been waiting. The pre-math that you were doing, I think you went a little long is the problem. Or is it the after report?
The pre-port. We get the pre-port and the aftermath. Anyway, it's confusing. There's a guide online. Okay, you can use ChatGPT, it'll explain it. Okay, well, with that said, why don't we start this thing? For the first time ever, a former president has been found by a jury to be a sexual predator. It's Donald Trump, found to have sexually abused advice columnist E. Jean Carroll in a New York City department store changing room 27 years ago. And we've got all the details for you. This is the first time, again, that a former president of the United States has been legally branded a sexual predator. Now, it is, though, a civil, not a criminal case. And so the only legal sanction Trump will face is financial. Now, technically, when you say that, what you mean is that he can't spend time behind bars. He can just pay a financial penalty. But it's also true in a larger political sense in that it appears at this point that the only consequences he will really suffer from are financial and not, I don't know, to his reputation, which is in the gutter anyway, and that's why they like him, to his chances of becoming a nominee. But we'll get to all that. But first, in explaining a finding of sexual abuse to the jury, here's how the judge explained it. It has two elements: that Trump subjected E. Jean Carroll to sexual contact without consent by use of force, which that sounds like the definition of rape to me, but I'm not a lawyer. And that it was for the purpose of sexual gratification. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. It did not find that Trump raped Carroll, but did find him liable for sexual abuse, which I'll leave it to the linguists and the philosophers to untie all of that, but one sounds like the other. Anyway, here is the penalty that he will suffer as a result of this. They decided that Ms. Carroll proved by a preponderance of the evidence that Mr. Trump sexually abused her and that she was injured as a result of his conduct. The jury decided that $2 million would fairly and adequately compensate her for her injuries. The jury also decided that Mr. Trump should pay Ms. Carroll $20,000 in punitive damages, but that is just the beginning. They also found that Mr. Trump defamed Ms. Carroll and that she was injured as a result of his October 2022 True Social post about her. She'll be paid $1 million for damages unrelated to a reputation repair program, $1.7 million for a reputation repair program only. They also found that Mr. Trump, quote, acted maliciously out of hatred, ill will, spite, or wanton, reckless, or willful disregard of the rights of another, which you could honestly define like literally any action he's taken in his life, but specifically here towards Ms. Carroll, and she should be paid $280,000 for that. So look, I suppose with America being what it is, this is what they were able to get for E. Jean Carroll. This is what sort of cosmically they were able to get for the dozens of other women that have accused Trump of sexual harassment and sexual assault of a variety of different types. And let's keep it real, more likely many additional women who have not wanted to put themselves through the psychic ringer of talking about their experience, being attacked for the rest of their life, having their family members be doxxed and stalked and all of that. And so this is at least a recognition that has never been found against any other president or former president of what he did and why he did it. And so JR, with all that said, what do you think?
Well, as you said, I mean, historic type of look here, but this has been talked about for years, and it's not just the E. Jean Carroll situation. It's, as we found out also, there's other women that were coming forward in the past about the sexual assault accusations they had towards him, and many of them were then saying this is just one of those quick shots of at least seeing, there's a jury that believed a woman. And isn't that depressing in this country that we had women who are claiming sexual assault on a very powerful person who end up running for president and winning, who then have to say, oh my God, my country, my judicial system that we've trusted in and says the best in the world actually acknowledged someone based off of how much evidence was placed in front of them. There's something, even if it's a liability case on civil suits and not the criminal side of it, but it's something. And it's depressing that now we have to be the ones to say, oh my God, can you believe we did such a thing? And the response being, oh, this is just something that's so political. Hey, it's only political because you decided to run for office after, again, according to this jury, you were found liable for these types of crimes. Yeah. So don't make anyone else, don't blame this on anyone else except for yourself, bro.
Yeah, and blame perhaps his legal strategy of not showing up, of just attacking her on social media, of attacking the physical appearance of the woman serving as her lawyer. He was gross. Like, maybe don't go around, talking to Billy Bush about how you like to do this exact sort of sexual assault and how it's just awesome when you do it. Maybe don't do any of those things. That said, let's turn now to some of the reactions. Donald Trump was angry over the last 24 hours. I'm not exactly sure why, but we're gonna dive into his Truth Social post and try to figure it out. He started off with very unfair trial. Now, that could be referring to a lot of different trials. He's mad about many of them, and there are many of them to be mad about. But he goes on to say, what else can you expect? This is all gonna be all caps, by the way. What else can you expect from a Trump-hating, Clinton-appointed judge who went out of his way to make sure that the result was as negative as it could possibly be, speaking to and in control of a jury from an anti-Trump area, which is probably the worst place in the US for me to get a fair trial. Look, there could be something to that about the area being a little bit predisposed to not like Trump. I would say it's too late for him to learn from this experience, but for the rest of you, you might want to do your sexual assaulting in areas that are going to be more amenable to your particular brand of BS. Don't go sexually assaulting people in places that don't like you politically, I suppose. Anyway, he would have said that anywhere. He would have said that about any judge. That has nothing to do with anything. He's mad that he's suffering the consequences of the things that he has now been shown by a jury to have done. He goes on to say, and he's tweeted this multiple times, we'll read one. I have no idea who this woman who made a false and totally fabricated accusation is. Hopefully justice will be served on appeal. So he doesn't know who she is. He keeps saying that. Okay, I suppose, look, if that makes you feel better, and it definitely will make his fans feel better. They will love the idea that they can just brush this aside. I mean, look, many of them, let's keep it real. It isn't that they just don't care that he committed a sexual assault. I don't think they would much care if literally anyone who wasn't a prominent Democrat did. But they will look for any excuse to pretend that he didn't actually do this. This is the best defense that he's come up with. I don't know that person. Why you would then refuse to defend yourself in court, why you would then reiterate that you think that casual sexual assault is acceptable if you're famous, why you would make that a part of your criminal defense, I have no idea. And so, look, a lot of bad choices from Trump. It looks like the bad choices will continue, though.
Really fast, John. I wonder if people are gonna realize this. This alert. Former President of the United States, Donald Trump, is disputing the fairness of our legal system. He is indicting our judicial system, the greatest in the world. How absolutely un-American of this piece of garbage. How dare you indict the honest nature of our system. We have a jury of our peers. If you have it in a place, it doesn't matter where it is because we're a fair and even-handed country. These types of folks who've always talked about how horrific and unfair our judicial system throughout our history must have been lying until right now, when this guy says there's a problem with it, when this guy says there's potential for biased judges and biased juries based off of where you are and who you know. But for every other regular folk who maybe is part of a disenfranchised group who we assume right off the bat are guilty, and many of which have been convicted, imprisoned, put to death based off of very shoddy evidence, he had no problem with that before. He has a problem with it right now when the exact opposite has happened, when everything was adjudicated, when his ass didn't show up to the trial, when he's saying defamatory things about the person who's accused him of these things. But now it's unfair. It's pretty weird how that happens now.
It is ironic. I appreciate you pointing that out. In any event, he goes on. He's been on one, attacking the jury, attacking the judge, all of that.
If he doesn't like it here, maybe he should move somewhere else.
Yeah, or stop committing crimes, honestly. Like, you decided that you would heap all of this on yourself. You could have left E. Jean Carroll alone. You could have not called, the Secretary of State of Georgia. You could have not engaged in any way with Stormy Daniels. You could have not stolen these documents. None of these were necessary crimes. None of these made much sense at all, honestly, even from his own perverse point of view. He has decided repeatedly over decades to heap onto himself opportunities for people to find him legally liable for the things he's done. That's a choice that he has made. Now, that said, let's turn to another choice that he made, which is to have Joe Tacopina defend him in court. Here is Joe responding to what came out.
Yeah, this was a circus atmosphere, and having him be here would be more of a circus. And again, what I said in the summation yesterday, reigns true, holds true. It's that, what more could he say other than I didn't do it? And he said that on the oath here. It's hard to prove a negative. Molly, I could say you stole my pen, prove you didn't do it. How would you prove it? Say you didn't do it, right? I mean, it's sort of where we're at. So, it's very simplistic to say, oh, he should have testified. He had nothing to say other than what he's already said on the oath.
Okay, so providing for Trump a few easy outs. Well, you can't prove a negative. Well, okay, under Joe Tacopino's argument, you would almost never be able to prove whether an attack like this actually happened, which is a convenient standard to set forth when you are in the business of representing people who sexually assault other people. I understand why you might want to do that as Joe Tacopina. The issue is that while, yes, theoretically, it is difficult to prove one way or another, that is not actually what these trials are about. What they are trying to do is understand to the best extent that they can what actually happened, whatever evidence there is that it happened, including contemporaneous accounts wherein she had multiple people say that she told them at the time that this actually happened. Those are the sorts of things that play into whether a jury thinks that you are liable for it. There are other things too. For instance, were you to be on camera saying you sexually assault people, then they're probably going to use that in their judgment as well. You'll notice that Joe Tacopina does not talk about any of that. He says that he denied that he did it. What he didn't talk about was that he also said that he only sexually assaults, I guess, people who are attractive enough, and the lawyer isn't attractive enough for him to want to sexually assault her. These are all things that, look, we can talk about the back and forth. The jury also saw it though. That is going to inform their decision. And so the idea that Joe Tacopina is spreading here is obviously crafted to provide PR cover for Donald Trump. It can't convince a jury, that's already been demonstrated. What he's trying to do is set the stage for his supporters to continue to give Trump legal defense money that he doesn't need since supposedly he's a billionaire, so that they can appeal this thing. That's what I'm getting off this, Jayar.
Yeah, the whole point is to try and to change the way that folks are seeing or thinking about this. As we go through some of these responses and the way these politicians are talking about this whole thing, this I think maybe part of what Tacopina is going through here is they're worried about, of course, the way people are seeing him now, or potentially may see him as we go into the political realms of this whole thing. So they want to get ahead of it. They actually kind of don't care about the result or maybe the money, maybe to a degree the money that he has to pay out now, but they're concerned about how people will now see him, which oddly, this is the way he's portrayed himself the entire time, and it's been just fine so far. So maybe they're seeing there's some shifts in the way people are thinking outside of Marco dumbass Rubio. Just want to point that out.
Let's go to one more video of Joe Tacopina.
It was strange. Part of me was obviously very happy that Donald Trump was not branded a rapist. I didn't think there should be any liability findings, so we'll pursue it. We'll pursue it, Adam.
Okay, so they're going to be appealing. But what you just saw there, the reason that I felt like it was necessary for us to show Joe Tacopina saying he wasn't branded a rapist is so that you can be ready to hear that from every right winger 1,000 times a day for the rest of time. Here's a little thought experiment for you. If this exact same thing had happened to Hunter Biden, would they be saying, well, I don't like Hunter and I want to get Biden, but he wasn't branded a rapist? Come on. He was found to have used violence to non-consensually touch a woman. You can go into all of what E. Jean Carroll said happened, including digital penetration, actual penile rape. I don't understand how that doesn't qualify as rape. Okay, that's what they came out with for the purposes of sexual gratification. They believe that Joe Biden is a pedophile because they think that he sniffed a girl's hair. That is all the evidence that was required for them to label him a pedophile. But Donald Trump owing $5 million for the sexual assault they say he did, not a rapist. Like, think about the rhetorical gap there that they want to pretend exists, but of course does not. But I've already seen it all over Twitter. That's what they're all saying. Every one of these people who believes that they believe that Hillary Clinton eats the faces of babies based on no evidence, think that Donald Trump is not a rapist because he was just found to have sexually assaulted, not raped E. Jean Carroll. It's a very convenient defense there.
But no one's surprised is the sad part from these types of responses. No one's saying, I can't believe Republicans are coming this far and trying to twist themselves into knots to try and find a way to excuse him for this. No one is surprised by these responses and the way that they've gone about this. And honestly, maybe they should start rethinking that, because that's turning some people off. Whether or not they want to really open their eyes and see it or not, it is turning some people off, man.
Yeah, I hope. Well, you know what? Why don't we check in with some of these people and see if any of this has turned them off? Let's jump right into some Republicans reacting to Donald Trump being officially labeled a sexual predator.
So what's your reaction to President Trump being held liable in the E. Jean Carroll case?
I hope the jury of the American people reach the same conclusion about Donald Trump. He just is not suited to be president of the United States.
Senator Risch, can I ask you about this news about Donald Trump being indicted, or charged? If you're gonna throw support behind a 2024 presidential candidate, does this verdict reached today have any impact on that decision?
It doesn't. I'm going to stay neutral.
I think it's a factor that gets to his electability. It's not a disqualifier, to Manu's point, at this point, but it's certainly not a check in the plus column.
So look, there was some differentiation between those. You had Kevin McCarthy just walking. His stupid smile. I got this position because of the support of a guy who's now been labeled a sexual predator. I'm not gonna talk to you because I don't have to, because I know who my base is, and the bar is buried in the center of the earth for these people, so we can do whatever we want. It doesn't matter how many laws we break. It doesn't matter how many millions of dollars we owe to the victims of our criminal behavior. I just keep on going. That woman's like, no, it has nothing to do with anything. The guy at the end who was like, it goes to his electability, but it's not disqualifying. It's not, okay, well, thank you. Are you not merciful for pointing out that it might go to his electability? Mitt Romney seemed to have an issue with it. That other old guy who was doing Chuck Schumer cosplay, he just turned around and walked away. Every single one of those people, I have to imagine, who didn't care at all about this, they have deeply held religious beliefs. They are conservative Christians to their core. And finding out that this guy sexually assaulted a woman means nothing to them, nothing at all. That is amazing, JR.
So all they talk about suburban women and voters for Trump and moms for Trump and all this stuff. Just know this, all the moms for Trump, all the suburban women out there, if you've been assaulted, if you're in a position that E. Jean Carroll was in, which many women have been, way more than you may know, we're in these types of positions. Your elected representatives, at least those ones that didn't want to have anything to say about it, they don't care. If it happened to you, they don't care. Actually, they care as long as your anger about it can get them reelected. If maybe it's a Democrat, if maybe it's a scary person that they've told you to be afraid of that committed these crimes, then you can be upset about it because it'll get them right back in office. If it's Donald Trump or if it's anyone else, if it's a lower level politician that has some degree of power, they don't care. They don't care. They're saying that right then, because again, like you said earlier, if anyone associated with any Democratic politician was involved in this, it would be, what is the party? This Democrat party, they're full of groomers, rapists, sexual assaulters. And anytime these things have happened, when say it's a staff or any of these types of things with an elected Democratic official, they're run the F out of town immediately. Yeah. So let's just wonder, do the people you're supporting, do they support you? This is what they're illustrating to you. That's why Kevin McCarthy walked off smirking, because anything he says is not gonna help his career.
Yeah, and look, the reason that I pointed out the religious beliefs thing is not just to mock them for being utter hypocrites whatsoever. It's that very often we hear that people's deeply held religious beliefs are not just the source of their political, like the policies they want to see, but they are reason themselves that things should be allowed. I should be allowed to skirt federal discrimination laws because I'm not just a bigot, I'm a deeply held bigot. So then we get the right to point out that, oh wait, no, you're lying about all of that. You don't really believe any of this. It's totally contingent. Some are able to come out and just blanket attack him. Former Governor Hutchinson, running against Donald Trump notably, says, over the course of my 25 years of experience in the courtroom, I've seen firsthand how a cavalier and arrogant contempt for the rule of law can backfire. The jury verdict should be treated with seriousness, and is another example of the indefensible behavior of Donald Trump. That's a good statement. It's good. Mike Pence says in his time around Trump, he never heard or witnessed behavior of that nature. And it's not where the American people are focused. He's more religious than all of them. And like, okay, so maybe the guy sexually assaulted someone, but that's not where we're focused. Yeah, but you're a Christian. Shouldn't we be? Shouldn't you be using your position to point out that that's like kind of frowned upon in the Bible? Certain parts of the Bible, other parts of the Bible are like totally cool with it, by the way. Let's point that out. Anyway, John Cornyn says, I don't think it changes anybody's minds one way or the other. I think people who support President Trump support President Trump. People who don't support President Trump don't support him. And I don't think this will have any impact, which is arguably true, but also, Jesus, he's your guy. Josh Hawley, by the way, he does say that he doesn't think that Trump will win in November. So I guess that's a point in John Cornyn's favor. Josh Hawley said that he still believes the next president will be the GOP presidential nominee, and added that Trump being found liable for sexual abuse will make the general election, quote, interesting. Interesting. Well, that's one word. That's one word. By the way, we are not at the end of even just this case. There's going to be appeals and all that, let alone there's another E. Jean Carroll lawsuit against him and many other lawsuits. That said, there might be even more waiting in the wings. Take a look at what a former White House communications chief under Donald Trump had to say.
I have countless cases of what I considered impropriety in the White House that I brought to the chief of staff because I thought the way he engaged with women was dangerous. This is, I mean, we know these facts, the patterns have laid out, and now this is something that's not just speculation, it's not just allegations, it is a jury of his peers deciding that he did this.
Wait, you brought to Mark Meadows, the chief of staff, or other chiefs of staff, incidents that you witnessed of Donald Trump behaving inappropriately with women?
I did, as well as former White House press secretary Stephanie Grisham and others. Nothing that rises to this level, but things that I would consider improper and that I had a duty to report. And this is all out there. Voters need to pay attention, and folks in my own party need to stop making apologies for this man.
Is there anything more you can tell us about this?
If I'm able to, I will share more.
So that is Alyssa Farah Griffin, obviously former communications chief under Donald Trump in the White House. implying there at the end of that amazing bombshell statement that there could be more to come from this. This is obviously a reaction to Donald Trump and his E. Jean Carroll lawsuit, but let's also pause for just 1 second to point out that if this was a former Biden communications chief, this would be the single largest scandal of his entire presidency. And this is a ripple detail from Donald Trump's other scandals that maybe some people will pay attention to. Most will probably miss that she even made those allegations. Also roped in Mark Meadows, by the way. Mark Meadows knew apparently all of this. He received official reports from a senior staffer in the White House and evidently did nothing, just protected Donald Trump while he was engaging in all of this sexual misconduct. And will anything come of this? I don't know. There are just so many scandals, JR, that it's really hard to say, but I'm glad that she's at least speaking out now about it.
She's speaking out now about it, saying the same things that people were saying back in 2015 when he started running, when the tape came out of him, as you mentioned earlier, admitting to doing these types of things, which didn't do anything, which maybe that gives some credence to John Cornyn's point that, hey, people who support Trump are sexual assault supporters. That's what he's saying. Again, listen to what these politicians are saying. He says people who support Trump, people who don't. This sexual assault liability decision made by this jury will mean nothing to the people that support him. So if you're one of those people that supports him through this, he's pointing out. So if some lib on MSNBC decides to say the same thing, you'd go, how dare these libs say this about us? You calling us deplorables? John Cornyn just called you deplorable. Unless you think supporting a sexual assault, not rapist in this case, is not deplorable. Is that a deplorable action to do to someone? You have to start making decisions about which one you are and how you're gonna be. Because we call all those people that were saying these things in 2015 and 2016 Trump haters, never Trumpers. You just guys got Trump derangement syndrome. We threw all these labels on these folks. We've been saying it for years. And now that someone else that was in the White House after he won and was doing the same stuff, we have to protect your staffers. And by the way, Alyssa Farah is not the only one. There's another woman that was involved in the administration dealings, and she said she kept her staffer from him because of the same reason. So you tell me, I think it was Grisham, yeah. I think it was Grisham. Yeah. They were talking about how they're keeping staffers from them because they know what he does. Is that comfortable? Is that someone you want to support? But they'll turn right around and stick their face on TV and say, yeah, I'll support him again. You sound like you're calling yourself a deplorable human being.
Yeah, by the way, can we also just point, again, we could go back and forth with this all day. We kind of are, actually. Do you remember what Donald Trump did when he debated Joe Biden? Do you remember who his guests were?
No.
Against Hillary, sorry, not Joe Biden, against Hillary Clinton, I apologize. Do you remember the guests that he brought to the debate against Hillary Clinton? Am I the only one old enough to remember?
I don't remember, no.
He brought multiple women who had made claims against Bill Clinton, implying that he was going to recognize women who were abused by a president while he was in the White House. And then he got into the White House and he apparently was so abusive that even Republicans were like, we gotta keep some of these staffers away from him because there's no way to control his behavior. He is going to abuse them. Anyway, that said, we're gonna take our first break. When we come back, lots more to get through, don't go anywhere.
Oh, John, I forgot, man. John, I forgot. He has his town hall tonight. They're gonna ask him all about it.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that next. See, I know how to structure a show. We're gonna get into it. I will say briefly though, before we get back to all the Trump stuff, and that's gonna be fun. I just want to say briefly, I don't evangelize very often, but the last premium live event for WWE Backlash was awesome. So if you've considered trying it out, it was really great. Bad Bunny had an amazing match. It was great. The event took place in Puerto Rico. It was awesome, almost start to finish. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Zelina Vega was amazing. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, with that said, let's move on to your comments now, which I assume are probably all about Backlash. Okay, with that said, Gina Jones has been a tier 2 member over on YouTube for 27 months. That is very much appreciated. Thank you for that. J.A. Thomas just became a tier 1 member. Thank you. We love our members who have been here for a really long time. You know who else we love? Those who are becoming members today. Great to have you here. Ukami says, I thought Bad Bunny was a rapper. Yeah, No, Grammy Award winning, one of the hottest music, maybe the hottest performer in the world. Also wrestles every once in a while and does a good job of it. Anyway, so thank you, J.A. Thomas. J. Colin, 1971, also became a tier 1 member. Much appreciated. Thank you for that. Matthew Wright's been here as a member, tier 2 for 18 months, getting access along the way, not just to the 18, or I guess that would be times 4 top 10s. So I'm not great at math, but that's like in the 70s. But obviously the many other top 10s that came before that. Thank you, Matthew Wright. Says Ma just said she'll still vote for Trump over Biden. Do you remember the women who wore T-shirts after the Billy Bush video came out that said, "I want Trump to grab me by the"?
Yeah. Yep.
It wasn't him talking sexy. It was him saying you can sexually assault people. It's a bad thing. I shouldn't.
And ask yourselves, do you want your daughter to be sexually assaulted by the former president?
Do you want your sister? Do you want your aunt to be sexually assaulted? I know that you want it, you're consenting. That's the cool thing about consent. When you consent, it represents that you want it and it can be a good thing. But when you don't, it's a different sort of thing. Miss Anonymous, member for 8 months, says, I'm sending my thoughts and prayers to Trump, Santos, and the Republican Party with a big laughy face. Okay, let's see. 00 says, I've got it. Your future daughter will be Jayar Iadarola due to your secretive love of palindromes and vowels. Hope you all have a lovely day. No, thank you, 00, though, for being here. Okay, Grandma Sunshine Dragon, tier 3 member for 25 months, says last Thursday was my birthday. And to celebrate, my doctor decided I should be scoped at both ends. So tomorrow, which means today, I don't want to get any more of the specifics. I'm sorry that you're going through so much medical stuff, but happy birthday, happy belated.
It'll be a healthy birthday, John. It'll be a healthy birthday.
Happy, healthy, hopefully easy birthday. Thank you. Smash, member for 21 months, says, Hail Dragons. Hi, John Jr. Love the show. Do not give this show away, John. Well, I'm only gonna give it away while I'm gone for paternity leave. I apologize. Elissa B says, John, I just found out Monday that I'm pregnant with my own baby dragon. I'm happy to support TYT. That helps make a better world for our babies. That's awesome, and congratulations. What great
Congrats.
That is cool. Galfar is telling us if we want to see actual wrestling, we should watch AEW. I got nothing against AEW. I like Saraya, but I've kind of chosen to follow WWE. Apologies. Okay, we've got a lot more news to get to. Let's jump right into this.
I'll be doing CNN tonight live from the great state of New Hampshire because CNN is rightfully desperate to get those fantastic Trump ratings back. They were ratings like none other, and they want them back. They made me a deal I couldn't refuse. Could be the beginning of a new and vibrant CNN with no more fake news, or it could be a total disaster for all, including me. Let's see what happens.
What? Such a natural salesman. They're bringing me back just for the ratings. That's it. I've accepted that, and maybe good, maybe disaster, including for me. Tune in, everyone. Okay. Well, anyway, it is happening. The CNN town hall with Donald Trump is happening again. Notably, it is the live town hall, which means that I was going to say when Donald Trump, continues his election denialism, totally lies about the 2020 election, when he spreads transphobic and misogynistic and racist conspiracy theories, sprinkles in a little bit of anti-Semitism. That is all going to go out to the millions. Well, it's CNN, close to millions of viewers live. So whether they do fact checking after the fact, whether Anderson Cooper checks something, they will be live spreading vicious misinformation that they have warned against for a year. They've been talking about Trump as a threat to democracy for years, but as he rightly points out, he's gonna give them ratings, so they're doing it anyway, JR. But look, honestly, the only reason that I wanted to make sure that we talked about this today isn't just, maybe to do some predictions about how it'll go and how they'll fail. But now it's almost arguably justifiable only because they've got to ask him about the sexual assaults, right? Like, right?
It's become a thing where they're on the hook, as he said. This could be disastrous for them, me, or everyone. That's the one truth that he did tell there for the first time ever. Because if you do, then you're gonna get the wrath of people saying, how dare they ask questions about what just happened and actually what has been determined by a jury. Or then there's gonna be everyone else that says, well, they invite him on, he's running for president. It's pretty obvious that this is something people may wanna know anything about what he's thinking or saying about this, because again, we always worry about our politicians' maybe morals and whether or not they come into office with these types of luggage, this type of baggage that they got on their backs. But now everybody's got to figure a way to line up and make sure that they're on the right side of this, which is gonna be tricky. What I would love to see, John, and it won't happen because E. Jean Carroll has been on some television shows already. Right after this trial was over, maybe she shows up to the town hall. Maybe CNN invites her to ask. I mean, imagine if she strolls up to the mic. If they have the situation where someone asks from a mic, and she has like a cloak on her head and she throws it off.
No, she just like. He's answering question, he's spreading BS. Her music hits, she runs out, chair to the back. It could be so exciting. They're not gonna do that. So here's my fear. Look, it's Caitlin Collins, who previously worked at the Daily Caller. Anyway, look, I haven't followed her career. People say that she asked him some tough questions over the past few years. Okay, well then I will bear that in mind and I will maintain hope that she'll be ready for him. And when I say that, I mean very specifically, he tells the same lies over and over and over again. There is no excuse to not have very specific responses to the exact same lies he's gonna tell. So I'll just say that. My fear though, is there are a million awesome, timely questions that people could ask. But if we accept that they are just doing this for ratings and they need him more than he needs them, if he says, I'm gonna come on, but you can't ask me questions about A, B, C, D, and E, what are they gonna say? No, we're gonna ask you fair, journalistic, balanced questions, blah, blah, blah. We're gonna do what we're supposed to do. Or are they gonna say, well, yes, sir, we really want you to be on our program, sir. We really want the ratings, sir. I feel like they're gonna give him whatever he wants at this point, but what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of those things that we know how the restructuring is happening from the top with CNN. So they're trying to have this whole thing where they're finding themselves what they think is the middle as they lean further to the right. So this is a big, it's a big indication of that plan and able to bring in those viewers. Again, it's not just the Newsmaxes of the world that are looking for some of these viewers of Fox that are finding themselves upset about how they're still on the hard right, but they've been told that they're not. But CNN's probably doing the same thing. This is their big opportunity. How are they gonna play it? And that is my one worry. They might be playing it to try and get some of those viewers, because we know this is definitely not about politics for CNN, at least from the top brass of it. It's about that money.
I just realized unless we are, and I wasn't asked, we'll find out. We should be doing that. We should be live responding to the claims. We should be. We got to gear up again for election season. I think that here at TYT, a lot of us are still like, we just ended the last election. Let's relax a little bit. But if they're not going to be providing an appropriate response, we should be doing it.
Next, basically a little bit of fact checking.
Yeah, doing the live fact checking. That's what we should be doing. Well, next time. Anyway, with that said, we have big news regarding George Santos, if that's his real name. But we're gonna take our second break, come back, we're gonna get to George Santos and more after this. Oh, there's too much news today. We're running out of time. Anyway, Jackal Dragon says, John, she shows up like Becky Lynch. That would be pretty funny. Actually, I get that reference. Thomas Sears says in a super chat, 2024 is the year of the fire dragon. Be prepared. Interesting. I don't know, what dragon are we in this year then? I need to know about now. Anyway, Behooves says in a super chat, happy Big News Wednesday. John and Jayar, you both always brighten my hump day. Thank you, I appreciate that. For me, I don't remember, Jayar. Did we talk about which day you would do regularly, or did it just happen to be Wednesday? I don't remember.
No, we didn't choose Wednesday for any particular reason, no.
I don't think that we did, but I'm glad that it is Wednesday. I like that it's at the halfway point. Like I like that touchstone in the middle, sort of as
Do
like
you
a
always
mark.
start super serious in the middle, at the beginning of the week? Then I'm like the middle. Sometimes I'm middle. Then by the time you get to Brett, it's just all wild.
Yeah, that's true. At the end, we try to balance it on Mondays. We don't want to give people a case of the political news Mondays, but yeah, it's hard to say. By the way, Kamuni says, okay, all, I don't know why we didn't see this before, but John's little dragon's name is obviously gonna be Cecily Alexandria. No, I like both of those names, but no. Those would be two great inspirational figures for her, but no. Anyway, Jonah Morton says, isn't it a weird world where the worst people of the world self-identify as deplorable? What's next, the EVIL political party, Dr. Doom for Prez?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't like
they
it.
demean people for wanting to save the environment, for being tree huggers, for actually caring about other human beings. They've already said it. That's a problem for them.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
Frank Morningtree over on Twitch gifted 10 subs. That is amazing and awesome, and thank you for that. But when you bear in mind that Frank Morningtree has gifted 645 subs, that's even more amazing. Thank you, Frank. Maria Hall DK also gifted one, has gifted 34. Thank you. Irie Man gifted a sub, has gifted 281. These are like, the idea of being an ambassador has been so sullied by the way that they're often those positions just given to donors or whatever, or people who came in 7th in the nominating contest. These are the true ambassadors. Thank you. Aximom has been here for 31 months on Twitch, says it's likely the best day because it's John and Jayar. Winningest news analysis combo. Thank you. Well, we always try to juice the news. We try to get the gears of justice and government moving on Monday. We really accelerate on Tuesday just to make sure that there's good news on Wednesday. So we will continue to do that. Chris Huggy says, we need to remove the statute of limitations on rape and sexual abuse. There's such a backlog of DNA tests, 100% right. Or what you could do theoretically is you could tie those two things together and say, so long as there is a backlog, there is no statute of limitations. If you can clear it out, if you put the resources and the person power into it, then we establish some sort of statute of limitations after that. But that might provide a little bit of incentive for states to actually take this seriously, rather than just implying that that's trash that no one needs to think about. Brady Lou 2 gifted a sub as well, has gifted 913. Brandy Lou, thank you. Okay, Blue Lily Blue Dragon says, you're entitled to a jury of your peers. Your peers don't have to like you. That's a great point. There's nothing in the Constitution about them having to be big fans. Anyway, Dent Hitchhiking Dragon says, John's dragon hatchling will obviously be called Annika because John managed to sneak the Star Trek reference past his wife. I considered it Annika or Seven, but no, we're going in a very different direction. And so far, no one has guessed it, although someone did come extremely close. That clock said I had 2 seconds left. Sorry, what'd you say?
I'm going with Anastasia or something with an A, Alexandria, something. I don't know.
Not Anastasia. No, people are saying Jaina. I do like that. Some people are saying Jason. If it was a boy, Jace might be the name. I do like the name Jace. Anyway, with that said, we've got big news and no time, so let's jump directly into it.
Congressman George Santos has just been charged by federal prosecutors. Do you believe that he should be removed from Congress? Should he be allowed to continue to serve?
I'll look at the charges.
He'll look at the charges. He's not gonna just jump in as the speaker, as the leader of Republicans and lead the Republicans. Certainly not lead them into making clear that they don't accept criminal activities by their members. No, he's just gonna wait and see what happens with George Santos. We already know what has happened with George Santos from the time that he got elected throughout the last few years of his life. A whole lot of really sketchy stuff, but that's not going to have any effect on Kevin McCarthy at this point. So he found that news breaking that George Santos has been charged with 13 different crimes to be inconvenient. Comer in the House also, we'll get to the charges in 1 sec. Comer, one of the other House leaders, he was doing like a press conference having to do with them changing the law on unemployment fraud. Because they want to talk about unemployment fraud because that's the poor people getting away with murder. That's something we can focus on. George Santos, one of the charges was for that. And they broke in with a question, and he's like, we'll allow the gears of justice to work. Anyway, it's just a great day when George Santos steps one bit closer to criminal consequences for what he's done. So let's go to those charges now. 7 counts of wire fraud related to a fraudulent political contribution, a solicitation scheme, and an unemployment insurance fraud scheme. 3 counts of money laundering related to a fraudulent political contribution solicitation scheme. 2 counts of making false statements to the House of Representatives. Just 2 for false statements? I have a feeling if you dig, you can find some more, but 1 count of theft of public funds. And so a lot of this has to do with political contributions. Basically, he was like personally enriching himself off of the money that he raised. And think about how incompetent you need to be that you can find a way to violate campaign finance law. It is so permissive. They let you get away with almost anything. And this doink found a way to break the law and might suffer the consequences for that. He has already surrendered himself to authorities, by the way. He's expected to appear before a magistrate judge on Wednesday afternoon. So we'll probably be talking about it on the Young Turks, which I will be on the second hour with Anna Kasparian. But Jayar, it looks like they got him. That's a lot of charges. What do you think?
It's a lot of charges, and we're gonna find out how much more Kevin McCarthy can figure out about this entire situation. Because when we were finding out about the lies he was telling as he had his run up to getting into office, George Santos, that is, Kevin McCarthy wasn't necessarily clueless as to who George Santos was. He had his back, remember? Until there's some charges that come down, man, I'm not gonna have anything bad to say. Well, charges have come down. Now he has to look into them. He hasn't looked into them at all. But somehow I get this weird notion that if there was charges against a Democrat, Kevin McCarthy would have read all about them, would have known everything was going on, and would have definitely been speaking about it. But he has nothing to say now. It's really odd how that's always the situation with these guys. But so as far as all these charges, he's been through all these things. We kind of saw this coming, but I don't know if it's to a degree for all these different things. But I think you mentioned Comer in his press conference. Steve Scalise also had a press conference, and he was promoting this bill that they had, HR 1163, Protecting Taxpayers and Victims of Unemployment Fraud Act. He was asked again about Santos as well during that, and he said, "Oh, well, I mean, we're gonna figure this out. We'll look into it. But what we're gonna talk about is protecting people because we're trying to pass this bill." Odd news for this bill, John. I looked at a whole bunch of co-sponsors to this bill. There's this guy named Representative Santos, George, representative from New York 3, who's a co-sponsor on this bill that is titled Protecting Taxpayers and Victims of Unemployment Fraud Act. And Steve Scalise could not answer the question of, does this undermine the legitimacy of the way Republicans are talking about things like fraud? He didn't want to connect those 2 dots, but George Santos's name is on the bill. I think you guys have a problem with hypocrisy when it comes to these types of things. Just saying.
But does that not make him more of an expert? He knows the criminal mind because he has one. It's like the Suicide Squad. You have to hire a villain to take down a villain. That's the way I see it anyway. Anyway, with that said,
good movie.
Not bad, I guess. With that said, he is currently, surrendered to the authorities. They are booking him under one of his many names. I don't know. We'll find out more details as we go forward. But with that said, we have one more topic to jump into in our first hour. He's back, everyone. Take a look.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. Starting soon, we'll be bringing a new version of the show we've been doing for the last 6.5 years to Twitter. We'll be bringing some other things too, which we'll tell you about. But for now, we're just grateful to be here. Free speech is the main right that you have. Without it, you have no others.
Oh, God.
He's back, everyone. He took, I don't know, it felt like 5 minutes off. I think it was about 2 weeks though. But Tucker Carlson is going to be doing a show and it is going to be streaming live. Maybe it's not really clear, but what is clear is that it will be on Twitter. And why not? Twitter is basically a Tucker Carlson fan. That's all it is in social media form. It loves his sort of misogyny, his racism, the anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. That's what it's for these days. So that should be the home of Tucker Carlson. That said, there are many lingering questions coming out of that video, the announcement video that kind of looks like a hostage video in a really fancy finished basement. Anyway, we don't know what type of content it's gonna have. It looks like even that video probably violates the terms of his contract with Fox, saying you can't host a show on an alternate network. He was talking quite a bit about politics in that video. We don't know if it's gonna be live or taped, what format it'll be in. Will it be an hour-long show? How do they expect people to watch an hour-long program on Twitter? We don't know if Mr. Musk is gonna be paying for the production of the show or compensating him. We'll get to what he has said about the deal or lack thereof. But this also comes, by the way, the same day that Tucker Carlson accuses Fox of fraud and breaching his contract. This seems like projection. He's in the process of breaching the contract, so he accuses Fox of it. But anyway, the point of much of his video, which is 3 minutes long, and ain't nobody got time for that. He says there aren't many platforms left that allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one, is Twitter, where we are now. Now look, we understand that Tucker Carlson, his entire stock and trade is lying to people. The idea that of all places, Twitter is the only remaining one that allows for free speech makes sense if you accept that free speech is when one of the wealthiest people around tells you whatever it takes to get you worked into a frenzy to allow the rich to continue to get away with economic murder. If that is how you define free speech, then sure, I guess Twitter is one of the few remaining places other than Fox News and Newsmax and OAN and CNN and MSNBC and basically everywhere else in the country. Jayar, what do you think? We had a brief little break from him.
Yeah, free speech is hate speech apparently for them. There's no differentiation between this stuff. But yeah, no, it's this general broad term of what he's going to be doing on Twitter. Who knows? And I'm sure Elon Musk will be very excited about this because he's trying anything he can to attract any kind of extra money he can. I'm sure they'd probably charge some level for it. Maybe all the blue checks that are paying, maybe they'll be the ones that'll be charged for it as well. Who knows? But as they go through this whole thing, the whole point is to try and create some kind of buzz, which is again, I think why it's so basic and everything. But these production values may not be so good because as we saw in that video, my man needs a ring light or something. I'm not sure how this Fox breach is gonna hurt him. He's a multi-millionaire. Maybe buy $100 ring light. It's a little bit on the expensive side, but at least it'll work. It looks pretty bad, just saying. But no, I think the whole idea is to try and generate. We know Elon purchased Twitter and then wants to do nothing but make money off of it. And the best way to do that is to attract the worst human beings possible, also the dumbest that are willing to be giving you their money for this. So I guess, good job. We'll see what happens.
Look, I guess Elon Musk wants to assure you, or more likely the remaining advertisers, that no, we're not officially working with one of the most prominent white supremacists and anti-democratic activists in political media. He says, I want to make clear we have not signed a deal of any kind whatsoever. Tucker is subject to the same rules and rewards of all content creators. That is a very clear statement from Elon Musk. That also was determined to be a lie. I'm just saying, that's just from me. No, that's not true. Look, I'm sure that they haven't signed an actual contract. The idea that he is going to be held to the same exact rules as everyone else, no, he doesn't hold regular right-wing grifters to the same rules as everyone else. Tucker Carlson will be able to do whatever Tucker Carlson wants to do. That doesn't mean it's gonna be a success. It's a really weird place to broadcast a show, but that is at least what it's looking like at this point. That said, unfortunately, we are out of time in the first hour. Thank you everyone for joining us for this first hour. There's a lot more fun to come in the aftermath though, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Aftermath, everybody. We've got a lot to talk about. I just want to respond to some comments first, though. JYPZ Rock says Twitter now with 50% more twits. Not bad, I like it. Okay, Anna, your hair looks great, Dragon says, last night I got a push notification from Twitter promoting Tucker's new spot. I have Elon and Tucker both blocked and rarely get push notifications from Twitter otherwise. Coincidence? I think not. No, it's gonna be, he's not gonna have like Tucker on his thing and not have the algorithm heavily promote him. Now look, maybe that is the deal that's given to all right-wing idiots on there, I don't know, but like, do not trust a single word that Elon Musk says about any of this. But beyond that though, let's see. RC Chick says in the super chats, oh my God, I just tuned in. John's having a baby. She will 100% be called Emma. Look, I like the name Emma. I think Emma Vigeland, great inspiration. Emma Watson as well, but no, we will not be going in that direction. Stickman Grit says, so what are the odds that if he makes bail, Mr. DeValder gets snagged trying to flee the country? Also, John's gonna name his child Dritz because genderized norms not as good as nerdery. That is a famous drow character from fantasy novels. Thank you. I do like the name Dritz, but I don't think I'll go with that. Non-human humanist, tier 3 member for 26 months says, just a question, is the GOP now pro-unemployment fraud? I mean, they say pro-life while supporting deadly weapons, keeping life-saving treatment from pregnant people or trans kids, so would fit the pattern, just saying. Yeah, it kind of does look like that. Oh, by the way, like they're focusing on the unemployment fraud. Remember all of the free money they got during the pandemic? The Congress people who they're not running businesses and everything, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So of course you put the focus on the people who got to replace a little bit of their wage. Galfar says drow equals dro. It's a long O, damn it. No, I don't think that's true. I mean, I don't want to have a nerd fight or anything, but that seems wrong. I don't know. Anyway, with that said, we do have more news, so why don't we jump into that, starting with this?
I smell a romantic comedy. Oh, a beautiful left-wing communist in Congress, a dashing right-wing male fresh off a wrongful accusation of sexual misconduct. They come together to fight one of the most corrupt practices in politics, and they fall in love. They can't help themselves. She's got a French poodle. He's got a strange hairline, but somehow they're gonna make it work. And then they're gonna leave politics and start their own business. It'll be like a vegan bakery for pets.
He's happily married.
A vegan bakery. No, he's gonna leave her.
No, he's not. Ginger's
married.
He's married.
He's married. Don't ruin it.
She's in.
I love to get my political news from the Five, watched by millions of people. One of the most influential political shows, fantasizing about Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez getting with Matt Gaetz. It's deeply weird. It's also not the first time that they've done this sort of thing. Like, this is the first time I know that they're bringing Matt Gaetz into it, but they love fantasizing about AOC. Now, maybe Gutfeld doesn't enjoy it as much as Ben Shapiro or some of the others, but they cannot leave that out of their commentary around AOC. In this particular case, though, what makes this notable is that Matt Gaetz has actually responded. Take a look at this.
It does seem a little childish to me that the media always has to over-sexualize everything that AOC is involved with. They wouldn't do that to men, and two people can engage in serious legislation that's not renaming some post office, but trying to make our Congress more honest and more ethical without that type of, I think, very childish and immature commentary.
Like twice a year, Matt Gaetz is not wrong, or even, dare I say it, right. Yeah, they do that. They do that around AOC, not just AOC, but definitely, especially AOC. And he's also right that they would not do that with a man. I mean, they included him in this case, but if not for AOC, they wouldn't have done it at all. So he is pointing out the just blatant, I should say, misogyny in the Five right there. He's 100% right. Feels weird, Jayar, but what do you think? By the way, not just right about the response, but right in what led to them saying this stuff in the first place, which is that he happened to be working with AOC to sponsor a bill that would prohibit members of Congress from trading individual stocks. So right on the substance, right on his woke defense of AOC. What do you think?
Yeah, it's weird because maybe someone finally, I guess, introduced Matt Gaetz to the Republican Party and pundits and all the folks that always supported him and promoted him and pushed him forward. This is how they do it. They've always sexualized people. That's why they have this unnecessary and fake fear of drag reading hours or the existence of gay folks. Everything that they think is sexualized. They're actually really fiendishly sexually like addicted. The way they talk about people, like, you keep throwing your sexuality in my face. Every 5 seconds, all they can think about. This is a bill, as you pointed out, this is a bill about keeping folks from trading stocks and cheating people out of money and having these types of advantages. But somehow all they see is some kind of weird sexualized relationship. It is odd to see these two working together, but that's the best that they can come up with, because that's exactly where their mind goes. Oh, and when AOC said, every time you guys talk about me, you talk about sexualized things. What do you guys like are obsessive a bit? And they go, oh, look at this pompous a-hole. Look, she thinks that she's so hot. You guys keep talking about her in these terms. So I think it's pretty much been confirmed, not from what she said, but from what you said. This is the only direction that you can go with any kind of criticism. And now Matt Gaetz gets swept up in it, and he's somehow annoyed. Bro, you've been benefiting from it for years.
Yeah, that's true. And look, obviously, interestingly, Gutfeld decided to bring up the accusations about Matt Gaetz. That's an interesting choice considering you like the guy, but good. It's true. He was accused of those things. Yeah, he's been wrong on a lot of stuff like that. But this is just perfect for Fox, and that's why I'm glad that Gaetz is pointing it out. It is a way that they get you to think. I guess we have to accept that there are going to be women in politics, but you don't have to actually respect them. You don't have to think about them as serious people. They're either hot or they're not, and regardless of which line they fall on, you still don't have to respect them. If they're hot, then okay, I guess they've accomplished what I expect for women, but now they're just sexual objects. And if they're not, then I'm just gonna ignore them totally. Meanwhile, Matt Gaetz gets to be this like cool guy who's gonna hook up with a new person. That is how the gender politics work on the 5. AOC is working with Matt Gaetz because that's what she has to do in this particular case, and they're both right on this issue. She is regularly putting forward exactly the sort of legislation that we need. Fox does not want you to focus on that. They want you to focus on something else. And if that means focusing on what they do, which is her physical appearance or whatever, then that's fine as far as they're concerned. By the way, I just want to quickly mention that Conscious Canuck sent in a comment saying, was the 5 named for their collective IQ? And I just really like that. It's subtle and dry, but it earned you a Blue Apron gift card. Conscious Canuck, send in an email to rewards@2it.com with your first and last name, as well as your handle, and they will get you all set up there. Any final comment, JR, before we move on?
No, I mean, it's these types of fights I think could be happening a little bit more and more as they're spinning and looking for some kind of connection to their party. Because again, I think people are beginning to notice how empty the Republican, from their punditry to their actual politicians are. Because look, this is actually some substance within this bill. It's all they can come up with. And you can ask yourself, so are you guys for or against draining the swamp? Because this is swampy behavior that this bill is supposed to be addressing. Are you against that?
Yeah.
Ask yourself.
By the way, in terms of how like vapid it is, they've been in charge of the House for more than 3 months, close to 4 months now. What effect has any of that had? I mean, it's stopped things from happening. Sure, that's what they're doing. But even when it comes to remember all the investigations and everything, hasn't even really accomplished much in terms of that. They're just really bad at their jobs. They're lazy, mediocre people who are not qualified to hold positions of power, even to use those positions to advance evil ends. Anyway, Gary Cooper predicts Adelina Sabrina Iadarola. No, I don't think we're gonna go in that direction. Great person, great inspiration, but no one has successfully guessed it. Okay, over on YouTube, Leigh Smith has become a tier 1 member. Thank you. It looks like it's a continuation of your membership because you have the fire-breathing dragon and the name is very familiar. So I'm assuming that it's just displaying wrong, but thank you for being here. Progressive Boomer has gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. May Money into building. Hey, May Money says, as long as you didn't go with Rocket. I had talked about the fact that I was inspired by Guardians of the Galaxy and I thought Rocket was a cool name. Someone suggested naming her Raquel and then Rocket would be a pretty easy nickname. That's still in the cards, we'll see. Sam Samuel says, we know John won't name her Lauren or Marjorie. Yeah, those names are sort of ruined. It's terrible when you, with a common name, do terrible things and ruin it for so many people. Anyway, with that said, are we ready for our next subject? It's a fun one. Stand by, it's time for AI.
I'll be back. Hasta la vista. Calculating cyber operations. I'm sorry, John. I'm afraid I can't do that.
We're all concerned about AI taking individual jobs. We're even gonna talk about a few of those in a moment, but let's go a little bit broader. If AI does what many people think it's going to over the next few years and gets involved in many different aspects of our life, including battlefield combat, including our health system, what effect might that have? Well, there are a lot of studies being done now that predict pretty dire consequences. They're saying that yes, there are good, like if we focus on healthcare, there are some things that AI could do well. They could diagnose maladies that doctors might miss. They could come up with treatments that doctors haven't thought of. They could come up with new pharmaceuticals that scientists have had trouble developing. All of that is true, but there are some issues. Here are a few of them. The risks associated with medicine and healthcare, quote, include the potential for AI errors to cause patient harm, issues with data privacy and security, and the use of AI in ways that will worsen social and health inequalities. Here's one example. Was the use of an AI-driven pulse oximeter that overestimated blood oxygen levels in patients with darker skin, resulting in the undertreatment of their hypoxia. So look, from the very beginning of AI being a thing that we talked about in terms of news, there have been concerns about the biases baked into AI based on who trained them and what they were trained on. Racial bias has been a part of that from the very beginning. And it is not just, like the already horrible result where people are getting like arrested who did not commit the crimes they're being, accused of. Something down to so specific as your blood oxygen level. And if that can result in the undertreatment of hypoxia, imagine all the other things that an AI system that doesn't have the ability to exercise human judgment might also get wrong. The only one thing that makes me feel a little bit better about this is that this AI system that'll be diagnosing people that has racial bias baked into it will likely be replacing quite a few doctors who also have racial bias baked into them. So maybe it's just a wash. Anyway, our system sucks. Also, AI could harm the health of millions, they say, via social determinants of health through the control and manipulation of people, the use of lethal autonomous weapons, and the mental health effects of mass unemployment should AI-based systems displace large numbers of workers. So effectively, especially when you think about the healthcare system, there's a lot of concern that this could result in a lot of damage, even if at the same time it's producing better outcomes for some people. What it seems to be implying is that AI could produce an unequal effect based on your race, based on your economic status. So, similar to our system in a lot of other ways. Jayar, what do you make of this?
Yeah, these are the things that that I think come across as some of the problems with AI, which, how can we tell beforehand? But then baked into these systems, it's just more across the board standard type of things. We're gonna, I think even things we can't imagine or dream of right now are gonna develop from that. Because I hadn't thought of the fact of maybe, as jobs get replaced and how that then helps people or affects people with their health care or their health in general, mental health and things like that. There's a lot going on. And as we're seeing it beforehand, it's one of those things that I'm afraid if or when this stuff gets implemented and then some of these results do occur, it's the who would have thought. It's just very simple. Look, we got cars that are driving on their own that are having their issues. Has that changed? Has that made people think and go, you know what? Maybe I should put my foot on the gas pedal and then the brake and then the steering wheel. Maybe I can do things like that. We're getting way too used just the normalcy of doing nothing that eventually we're gonna have to start accepting, just like we accept any other kind of violence or inequalities or biases within our societies. We're gonna just start accepting it because that's just the way it is, I guess. It's the biggest problem with this is I think as we see this come across, we're not gonna see tons of people at least think we have to stop or change this or change course. Yeah, that's just our human nature, I think.
Well, we're gonna put this concept through a couple of tests and we're gonna see what we think. We're gonna go more specific. So there are a lot of concerns about AI and jobs. Here's a case study. Wendy's is partnering with Google to create an AI chatbot that can take orders at its drive-thrus. They're planning to bring their first Wendy's Fresh AI in June. It's AI, it's not a bun. You can't just throw the word fresh on it and get free publicity, but I guess they have. So this chatbot is gonna take verbal orders from customers who line up at drive-thru kiosks. The idea being that it will speed things up. of course, as our production team was talking about this morning, the thing that makes those lines take a long time isn't generally the worker, it's the customers. So will you be replacing them with ChatGPT? If so, then you might be onto something. For now, though, part of Google's work with Wendy's means ensuring the AI is brushed up on some of the special Wendy's lingo, like knowing that a milkshake translates to a Frosty and that a JBC is short for a junior bacon cheeseburger. I did not know that second part. As soon as a chatbot takes a customer's order, it will appear on a screen for line cooks. The worker will then hand the completed meals to customers at the pickup window, just like any other order, except that unlike other orders, the human being is now being treated as literally just an arm to do this, rather than an autonomous being that can communicate with people, can represent the company, and then hand the food over. Now they're just waiting for a robot arm to replace that last bit of their job. And I'm sure they won't receive a pay cut with their responsibilities being taken away.
No.
Anyway, they acknowledge issues with this theoretically. I don't know that they understand all of the issues with this, but look at how ready they are to replace people in jobs like this. And they will do it. They will replace as many as possible. And then what are you supposed to do to make money when you're getting started out, when you're younger, or when you're working 4 or 5 jobs, you know? And one of them might be at a Wendy's or something. What are you supposed to do?
John, you're supposed to become the CEO of companies and corporations and bring in all this money yourself, because everyone can do that, because there's enough of those jobs that everyone in the country can become that. There's no other regular jobs where you can actually live, even if not for a minute. I think this is kind of, now that you're saying it this way and what maybe this drive-through scenario may look like, McDonald's has the app, I'm sure Wendy's has the app. All the apps are, I use the pizza ones, the Pizza Huts and Domino's. But if you're not using the app, if this starts maybe screwing up when you're at the drive-through window, maybe you have an accent. Maybe you just flew into a major city. Maybe you flew into New York and you're from, France. And you have a heavy accent. Is it gonna pick up on it? Is it gonna understand what the hell you're saying? Because there's plenty of times through drive-throughs, maybe even the person ordering or the person that's working there may have an accent, and there's a lot of back and forth. Wait, I'm sorry, what was that again? I don't know how they're gonna work all that out. It may turn into just drive up to the drive-through window and it's maybe just an app screen, just like the app you may have on your phone. Just start clicking in what you want and what you don't want. There's kiosks inside of McDonald's right now that do that. You don't have to go to the person. It's a big ass computer.
Yeah, the computer next to the car seems a lot easier, but would also replace a job. Exactly. Those kiosks do exist. You're totally right. That already exists. That's already been normalized. And look, I'm part of the problem. I very often use the self-checkout at grocery stores. That is the same thing. There technically is one person working, but they're replacing multiple people. Like, we're seeing this all over the place. And the most important point that I want to make here, because this is a serious topic, is go faster when you're in the drive-through. What is wrong with you people? Jesus Christ, sometimes it takes a long time. There is a Jack in the Box that I wait in, and it is like a 25-minute investment. The menu ain't that big. What is taking you people so long?
Sometimes understaffed. No, I have similar issues. There's been times I've bailed out many times. I was like,
yeah. There is halfway through the Jack in the Box thing, there's an alley. I've gone down that alley to get out of there. Anyway, you know what
Jack in the Box you're talking about?
It's near your house, actually, yeah. It's exactly, because at that point, I've been in line for 10 minutes. I'm like, I think I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go to the Arby's where they treat me with respect. Anyway, you know what? Don't replace the workers with ChatGPT. I just want, when you get up to the thing, you hold an AI up and have it communicate, because none of you are qualified. Anyway, with that said, we're gonna move on to our last topic in just 1 sec. We have another AI story. We'll end up getting to it another time. I just want to briefly respond. Fiddlinero suggested Aurora, which I like as a name. Leia, no. Mara Jade, those are cool. Ariel, that would line up well with Disney right now. Maybe I could get them to sponsor it. Nala, you're just naming Disney stuff now. And May Money in the building says, I'm not a pro at coming up with white people names though. Well, May Money, let me flip the script on you. Who says it's a white person name? Think about it. Mixed race child maybe isn't gonna be named Stephanie, maybe. Anyway, with that said, why don't we launch into our final topic? Younger and younger people are using social media more and more, and the dangers do seem to be rising, or at least societal concern about those dangers. And we're seeing both politicians as well as academics really jump into the topic of what, if anything, should be done about younger people and their social media use. So you do have legislation, Senator Katie Britt, Chris Murphy, Brian Schatz, Tom Cotton, so bipartisan, working together with a bill to prohibit all children under the age of 13 from using social media, and requiring permission from a guardian for users under 18 to create an account, which seems to imply that even with parental approval, you're not allowed under 13, which is fascinating for a Republican to sign on to, but that appears to be what they're doing. They say that there is unusual bipartisan momentum around the issue as parents grapple with a burgeoning post-pandemic mental health crisis among young people. CDC says 60% of teen girls reported feeling persistent sadness or hopelessness. 30% said they seriously considered attempting suicide. 60% persistent sadness and loneliness. That is just so incredibly sad. That does not mean that this legislation is the solution, by the way, but it is obviously a problem. And just recently this week, the APA, the American Psychological Association, has issued new recommendations and guidelines for kids using social media. They have 10 different recommendations they have given to parents, teachers, policymakers, tech companies, healthcare workers, sort of a holistic approach to this, including things like urging parents to monitor children's social media activity, minimize their exposure to content that encourages self-harm, eating disorders, and other high-risk behavior, as well as limiting not just overall social media content use, but specifically things having to do with beauty and appearance, which is believed, you can take it with a grain of salt, to increase expectations and feelings that they're not measuring up, some of the sadness and loneliness that we're talking about. Jayar, you have a child who I assume uses social media. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, I wanted to which degree or which ones, because tons of kids watch, say, like YouTube, and those could have those same effects. And is that a social media app? Yeah, because people interact and people discuss and all that stuff goes down on there, but also people just watch their shows. So to what degree is that going to be limited? It's kind of a tough thing to implement, and I understand. I fully understand the reasons behind it, because yeah, there is problems with young folks feeling like this is the way society is, or being affected by, because that's what they see, that's what their interaction is, that's what their experience is. Ours were much different, but those had those issues too in interacting directly with folks. But it's weird that our solution comes to always some kind of punitive or some kind of barrier put up, or some kind of a way to restrict folks from doing things, rather than investing maybe in our mental health access. Investing in the way that we communicate with each other, the way that schools have folks in place. There was a story that was pitched earlier from my meeting where there was this school that was ousting all health type of folks, mental health people, and any access to that type of stuff, because we're not here to actually help humans. We're here just to churn out this machine-like process of teaching folks whatever it is that we want. We've eliminated the human access to things, and this just throwing up a barrier will cause folks to break rules, and then we'll have to start having to address that. I get the reasons. I just am not sure if this is the right approach,
Yeah, I mean, I have to assume that, look, kids are clever. Kids are gonna get around things. It will have an effect, but it's not gonna stop every kid, dedicated, kids. They're gonna sign up with fake, ages and stuff like that. Like, how many times have we all been asked to confirm our birth date online? Now, yes, there are somewhat more sophisticated solutions recently, but could you eventually see a black market for unlocked phones that allow you to get onto it and everything? I don't know. The issue is that this stuff is damaging and appealing. People want to engage in these online, effectively, competitions of personality and appearance that can have really corrosive effects on the losers as well as the winners, by the way. Who is actually winning out from any of this? Again, that does not mean that this piece of legislation is the solution, or that any piece of legislation is the solution, but it is complex. It is something that does need to be grappled with. And so thankfully, at least some people are paying attention to it. With that said, that's all the time we have for AI, for social media, for Jayar Jackson. Jayar, as always, thank you for being here.
Good times, man. Big News Wednesday, back to living up to its true title. I like it.
100%. Everyone check out the watch list later on today. Thank you, Jayar. I'm also gonna be joining Anna Kasparian for the second hour on the bonus episode of the Young Turks. So hopefully I'll see you there For now, though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.